Okay, anybody who's joining, I'm going to be doing a bit of a Q&A today. I'm a principal product designer, so we're going to be talking about product design, UX design, etc. So if you're a designer, feel free to stick around, ask your questions. Cool. Yeah, just getting everything set up, making sure audio and everything is working okay. Hi, Oscar. Welcome. Just getting everything set up. Okay, can you guys let me know if there's any audio issues? If it sounds bad, like if it sounds like it's going in and out. I have two audio setups here. You can see I have one mic on. Okay, sounds clear on YouTube. Great. If anyone on TikTok can let me know, that would be much appreciated. I've got two different mics. I've got my Rode mic going to TikTok. Perfect. Sounds clear on TikTok. Okay, great. Awesome. Super. Thanks, guys. A little bit early, so but if you're joining and you do have UX and product design questions, feel free to pop them in. I'm super interested to actually talk about managers today. Maybe you guys won't be interested, but this last week I've been really helping somebody deal with like not great managers, and I been helping them navigate the situation. And it's not been an easy one, I'll tell you that. But I think we're getting to a good place. Managers, design managers, and then also there was something else that came up as well. I forget. There was something else that was super interesting. I don't know if I saw content on it. I was in a really big workshop today, but I don't think I could think of anything about workshops. It was one of the first workshops I haven't run in I literally can't remember how long. So that was interesting. Okay, just whoop. Okay, once again, I'm not working with a stand on TikTok, so if you guys might be in for a ride as I try to scroll my message. Oh, okay. Congrats, Rooney. Got your first job as a product designer. That's awesome. Super glad to hear that. I'll come back to dropping some tips. I'm going to get started in like 3 minutes. But first off, congrats. The market's hard. So, yeah, super congratulations on that. Tell me more about it, actually. Tell me what kind of organization you're in. Is it a big tech company? Is it a startup? Is it just kind of a mid-level, mid-sized company? Tell me a little bit more. That'll help kind of what tips I give you as well. Maybe I can just try to get two angles correct. Nice. Also, it's kind of still funny to me to hear that you just got your first role as a product designer. I just think that's so funny because in my uh, over the course of my career, product designers weren't really like a thing until pretty far into my career. Like that was just not a job title that was thrown around at all. And so it's funny to get like your first job in that already kind of pre-established as like a product designer. Big ones when I was kind of starting out, I think were interactive designers. I definitely had that as a title. Web designers, huge, massive, because when I started, it was like pre the big wave of like native apps as well. So there was like app designers if you did that, and web designers. Those were very distinguished. Um, roles, and they definitely did different things. You kind of had that specialty, but now everything's kind of blurred together. What else do we have? Where I was when I was starting out, they legitimately had like Design Ninja, and Ninja was like a big one. And I shit you not, it was in real LinkedIn job titles as well. It was yeah, Ninja. Oh, Unicorn was the other one. I definitely had it wasn't an official title, but what the job listing wrote was yeah, looking for like a interactive design. It was like design wizard or UX UI. Sorry, not wizard. I'm seeing another comment. Wizard, a unicorn, but like UX UI unicorn. I don't think I ever saw wizard, but I definitely saw it in the job description. Like we're looking for, somebody who's just a wizard at design or like something like that. Like it was just off the rails, like what they were putting in job descriptions. But it sounded so much more fun and exciting than a lot of the job listings today. So I'm not mad about it, but I definitely at one point like was questioning everything. Because, like, I'm like, "Do I wanna be a ninja? What qualifies to be a ninja in UX design? What qualifies to be a wizard or unicorn?" Cool, okay. Mm, mm, mm. Okay, Rooney is working at just got their first job at a mid-sized level, very established small design team, just 2 people, and you're a career pivoter, so you've come out of another career. That's awesome. I'm curious what career you've pivoted out of. I would say tips for onboarding, especially for a small team. It would be different, and I'm glad you kind of specified because it'd be a little bit different if you were in a large company. In large companies, I always tell people to kind of take your time, like legitimately, like the size of company that I work at takes like 3 months to onboard minimum. And that's for pretty much any role, just because it's so big and so complex that you really want to like establish your understanding before you hit the ground running. But I think in a small design team, especially with just 2 people, I would get up to speed as quick as possible and then start getting hands on as soon as you're kind of comfortable too. I think another thing, if you weren't set up with like a 30, 60, 90 kind of onboarding, I don't know, you said established, so maybe they kind of have some sort of onboarding program like that. But if they don't, I would look into that framework and maybe you could build one out for yourself. What I love about that framework is that it actually sets out a very intentional, like meet with individual and specific stakeholders to kind of just start to build a little bit of that rapport and yeah, just kind of build your network like internally a little bit more, kind of sit down, meet with people, especially through the guise of trying to help, like, show your interest and eagerness to kind of help solve the problems that everybody is facing. So, kind of going around doing that 30, 60, 90, like, enables you to understand the problems a little bit more. Um, Also what goals people have, like, through individual teams and stuff like that. So I think that's a really good way to set that intention. You have a couple, like, one-on-one interviews a week, just really grounds you in, kind of getting to know everybody. And then another thing too is if you can, I would definitely try to, um, uh, sorry, I just get distracted when I see a notification. I would try to figure out not because your first job, first product designer job, so nothing too in depth, but just really try to understand the kind of team goals and then also kind of what your company is after as well. Because again, it's all about orientating yourself towards how you contribute to helping out achieve those goals and yeah, how you can contribute as a designer towards those things. So yeah, and then of course, yeah, the table stake stuff, which is just getting familiar with the teams and with the tools and the all the different things on like whatever the company works with. But that's just kind of like you just figure that out along the way. Usually, you don't have to sit there and spend a lot of time with I don't know, Microsoft Office or Google Workspace or kind of whatever the company is invested in. You just kind of learn it as you go and figure it out along the way. But understanding goals, getting to know your like close stakeholders is really sets you on a really good foot when you enter in. Mhm. Just a heads up as well, I'm only doing this for 45 minutes. If you guys have joined my lives before, I sometimes go so long because I just love the questions that you guys are asking me, but I have to go bowling later. So, just a heads up. So, if you can stick around just for the 45 minutes, I would love if you did. Also, if you don't have any questions, please just like drop in the chat like where you're from. I always find that super interesting. I see, oh, I have to guess the flags. I think those are flags from I don't wanna be wrong. I feel like one of them is Nigeria. I don't know the green, white, green one, though. But tell me. I don't otherwise, I'm gonna Google it later for sure because 'cause it'll bother me. Nice. Makes a lot of sense. Gotta fight some imposter syndrome too. Um, are the majority of the folks in this live viewing via TikTok? That's actually, it's about even right now. Oh, okay. White on top, red. So yeah, even across the board, even numbers across TikTok and YouTube right now, actually. So cool. But I would say for the most part, on most lives, it is usually mostly over on TikTok. Um, hey everyone, welcome. Yeah, I see some familiar faces, which is always super cool. Love that. Rooney's saying, just to kind of go on the kind of first product designer, we got to fight some imposter syndrome. Yeah, I think, I mean, the biggest tip I can give you for being in this industry and as a designer for 13 years, people don't know as much as they let on. Okay. The more I've moved up, and I'm like, basically, I'm pretty close to director level at this point. Most of the people that I work with now are VPs, SVPs, C-suite people, et cetera. And you once you kind of find out and you work closely with higher up people, you really find out they don't necessarily know any more than you do. They might have a bit more confidence. They might be able to communicate a little bit differently, but don't let yourself think that you don't have a voice just because there's people who've been around longer or they have a higher title or a designer has been around longer. It just, to me, in my experience, it really does not mean a guarantee that people know better than you, like straight up. I've been in so many, even as a core junior lead, all the way through every. I will meet individuals where I'm like, you don't know what you're doing, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't know what I'm doing, but also on the flip side of that, just be also like I love to take the mentality of, are you guys cool with like seeing how this works? You know, like not trying to be the person who has all the answers or like, I'm 100% this is going to work, you know, with no faults in anything. I really just approach any kind of anything that I put forward. I give my rationale, I give my reason, I give my thinking. But at the end of the day, it's like if there are, and then it's like, well, I still have questions. I'm not 100% sure about this bit or that bit or whatever. That kind of level of like humility, transparency, that kind of thing can take you so much longer than I think people think, especially people who do really feel that imposter syndrome. They feel like they have to go into these, whether it's a design review, a presentation, your a stakeholder session, whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm the designer, especially one of two. And I really, I don't want to look junior. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like nobody knows what they're talking about. Or they know some stuff, but they don't know everything. And so, yeah, I have personally gained a lot in my career by just having a tremendous amount of humility and just being like, yeah, but there's a real possibility that this part of the thing I'm proposing might fail. So, but then have a plan for like, let's get a little bit more confident, do a little bit of testing, whatever, or just be like, yeah, I'm really unsure about this, but what do you guys think? Like bringing them into the process kind of thing. Anyways, I have a really strong opinion about imposter syndrome because I actually just I think it's thrown around a lot, but you will be surprised. And I don't think I don't want it to limit people because a lot of the times, if you really like keep your eyes open, it's not worth it. And that kind of limitation on yourself is not worth it to the people who are actually around you. And yeah, I don't know. Okay. Going to the next question. What are your best practices for developer handovers? And are there any key elements you always make sure to document? So, this really, of course, it always depends on kind of your developers. I have worked with world class developers who need very little from me. And those are the days. Those are the dreamy days. Then you have the developers who, for the love of God, cannot like see different colors. They can't see spacing. They literally, I swear, they just look at a design once and then they close it and then they do it from memory. Like that's what it feels like sometimes. And wow, it's oh man, it's so many painful experiences that way. I have to also caveat, I've been a developer. So I know what you're doing. I know what well, I know more so I know what you're not doing. And yeah, so it kills me inside. Sorry, I'm just having flashbacks and it's traumatic. So yeah, I would say fundamentally you really kind of have to figure out what level of detail your developers really need, right? So if you do work with more experienced developers who actually have a semblance of UX and design eye, great. You can maybe not have to annotate every single margin, little tiny bitty thing in your designs, but I think more is more in these cases. I think usually annotating a lot of what you're designing. There's so many tools out there now. I mean, Figma developer mode. What's the other one that starts with a Z? Is it no? What is it? Starts with Zeppelin. Zeppelin tools like Zeppelin and stuff like that are super handy because they basically give you that view for the developers. So I would try to not. I would try to automate as much as you possibly can. And if you have to kind of onboard them into that experience of those tools to be like, hey, look here for this, look here for that, then that's I mean, I think that's the kind of best way to approach that for sure. Mixed experience, any template example of what you would consider a good developer. So, do I know any templates or examples of what you would consider a good developer handoff? Um, Honestly, if you have a good developer, the tools I just listed is kind of the way to go because they are explicitly meant to help your developers look into what hex codes did you use. They can easily look into margin spacing. Like we all had to, we us old designers had to do all of that very manually before, and it took forever. So I would, if you don't already, I would upskill yourself on those types of skills to improve your handovers. Now, when it comes to, let's say, if you have interactive elements in your design, if you have, it's like a complicated flow and you need to show kind of the, yeah, information architecture or the kind of sitemap of the design, essentially, of the product, then again, it just gets more advanced. So then you should probably have a prototype together or even a user flow map or a site map that kind of shows the developer exactly how everything kind of interlinks together. A big one that designers, especially early on designers, forget as well is all the development states you need, the 404s, the errors, the all these different things. So of course, standardizing those in your design system is really the way to go because then they can kind of just like plug and play. But well, you can plug and play and have it in situ, or they have a reference, kind of a repo to reference. That's always really good. But um, yeah, kind of just yeah, giving them what they need. If it's an interactive element, sometimes again, working with good developers, if I can't do it myself or I don't have the time or I don't really want to do it myself, I'll find an example of it online. Like let's say a loading state, for example. Maybe I'll go find a GIF or I'll actually create a GIF with multiple states, multiple screens, record it, hand off the GIF. So I think there's a bunch of little stuff that you can do, but you just have to find that like perfect balance of like what is going to not make you want to kill yourself because they're not delivering the design as you wish it to, and then giving them the tools and assets so that you're not documenting till you're blue in the face as well. But it really, yeah, kind of just depends on your team. I had another thought. Da, 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 da. The one thing I want to say about developer hands, so that's kind of the handout side. That's the initial thing. I would just encourage any designer, and this is for a multitude of reasons, whether it's just for your portfolio or it's for the intended impact of your design solution or whatever it may be, also be the Q&A. Unless you have a Q&A that you can trust. But be sorry, QA. I'm saying Q and A, but it's QA, quality assurance. Um, be the QA. So be there when the developer says it's done and check their work seriously. And if you are annoying about it, maybe they'll complain about you. That can happen. I've had that happen. But more often, I've actually had it happen where they get so sick of having to go through so many different iterations of you being like, actually, no, 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 this, change this, do that. And if they have to do that 3 or 4 times, they're not gonna next, task, next kind of feature implementation, they're not gonna come to you with something as half-baked as what they came to you before, because they know that you're gonna point out every little thing that they did wrong, and they don't wanna go through that. So if you're kind of the stickler, especially in the early stages of, like, the relationship, you can really, establish this, like, kind of no BS. I'm not I'm not taking kind of half-baked, development, as it is, like, it needs to be kind of what we set out to be, right? Now, of course, there's a bunch of caveats to that, which is like, "Oh, what if it was harder than you thought it was?" And all these other things and whatever. So, anyways, I went on that one a long time, and there's a bunch of questions over on TikTok, so give me a second. I hope that was helpful. Um Oh, yeah, what were the software recommendations? Zeppelin? And it also feel free, anybody who has other recommendations who is good at this, but Zeppelin and then, yeah, Figma DevTools, right? So those are the 2 big ones that I know of, but if you guys have other ones, yeah, Zeppelin is always before it was before Figma Dev Mode, before everything. So I don't know if they're still keeping things, like, super up to date, but they were one of the biggest for sure for, like, helping with dev handoffs. Okay, to make principal, did you job hop or stay in the same company? I stayed in the same company. So I started out the company that I'm in as a core designer. Actually, funny story, I applied as a UX researcher and a UX designer because I thought I had enough experience across the board for both. Got rejected as a researcher, but did get in as a designer. Yeah, I just kind of worked my way up the ladder through the company. From in my company, it went yeah. So you started as a core. We did have graduates as well. So like if you're just straight out of uni, there was graduate levels, but core and then senior. And actually, we had this thing called a TL, a team lead, for a little while. And that was my like management experience. I managed developers, copywriters, um, was there any other crafts? And designers. But yeah, I was like a team lead, so I managed kind of like my team and was responsible for like their career growth, whatever. That was like a sidestep. I was like, wow, that's not for me. Okay. And then I went to lead, and this was a role that was established like while I was still in the company. So lead designer, because once you get to the point as a senior, now this is pretty established across most of the big companies. But once you get to a senior role, you have 2 paths, right? You have either you go up the management track, or you go up the kind of continue up the individual contributor track, IC track. And I didn't want anything to do with like the admin of management. So I stayed on lead track, and then I went up from lead designer to principal designer. So that's me. That's my journey. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay, I'm gonna see what questions we got over here. Nice. Okay, I thought I saw the same username across YouTube and TikTok, and it really it really threw me off for a second. I'm like, how are you in both? Okay. The way I waited for your live to ask you before making a decision about a big purchase decision. Okay, what is this big purchase decision? Did I miss the question? Oh no. I didn't miss it, did I? Okay, maybe it's coming. Okay. Do you it was literally the next next comment. Do you think iPads are a good tool for UX designers, and how do you use it? I I think it's like total preference, right? I'm old. So I love to do a lot of things analog. And it's for me, it's because I like an excuse to get away from digital stuff. So for me, I love to have like printouts of maybe grids. Then I'll draw my wireframes on those, or I'll just like have a pen and pencil to do like wireframing and stuff like that. Because otherwise, I think yeah, primarily a lot of people use iPads for wireframing. Whether you use something like UX Pin or some of the other tools out there where you can kind of drag and drop elements, but you're doing it all on an iPad. It's kind of fun and it's different. It gives you a little bit of a different medium. I've definitely done it, and it is a little bit different enough, but you don't have to go total analog with it, and then you can just have it in your Figma and like all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. I like that. Sketch ideas, brainstorm, anything really you can do with a pen and paper. But I will say, I have personally um, used it like within the last year to learn how to do very simple animations using Procreate. And I'm talking very simple. But if you ever see like any of my content having little animations and stuff like that, a lot of my illustrations, I'll just kind of like put some movement in them just to like make a GIF and make it a little bit more interesting. I've really enjoyed kind of doing that. I don't wanna go full bore. I don't wanna go into, like, the full animation. It's not for me. I can't really draw anyways, but that's been super fun. We have Oscar over here saying about, yeah, iPad, my opinion is yes, you can take it anywhere, take screenshots of products and mark up and ask questions to your team. It's a great way, it's great for meetings. You're able to save notes and reference them. Yeah, totally. I mean, the transcription as well, right? If you love to write, but then you also want that to be like transcribed digitally, that's super cool too. I see a lot of people use it like that. Um, yeah, Procreate is on iPad. Yeah, and that's what I use it for, just to maybe do little doodles, do little drawings and stuff like that, but vectorize them super fast and super easy instantly as I'm creating it, and then being able to use that like in some of my designs and stuff. But I have an iPad mini. It's yeah, so I haven't gone full bore with it. But if you're more artsy, like if you are actually super creative and enjoy like graphic design and stuff, yeah, I mean, I think an iPad is super cool that way. Also, notes like if taking notes in meetings, I love getting really crafty with my notes. Like in my desk, I have a bunch of washi tape and stickers and stuff like that. Again, analog. But if you use something like GoodNotes, you can do that and have little stickers and like little washi tapes and highlighters and just like make note taking a lot more fun as well. So, yeah, I think maybe hopefully you guys can kind of relate to this because you're all creatives and stuff. But I think there's a lot of different ways you can use your yeah, the iPad to kind of do stuff like that. But then again, you have that immediate transference because like I have to, if I wanted to, all my notes I have to transcribe if I want them digitally. Not efficient, but yeah. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I think an iPad would be a way to go for sure, for sure. Okay. Wow. Okay. You guys have got some good questions. Nice, nice, nice. Let me go back up. Make sure I'm not missing anything. It's kind of first come, first serve. So if you ask a question, I want to be able to try to get to it. Yes. Recommendation. I'm working on some new mockups for a mobile website design. Would you recommend including browser elements for these mockups? Browser elements. So like basically like a browser frame. Is that what you're saying? Like frame, instead of being on like a phone frame or an iPad frame or whatever, like a browser frame. Um, if that's what you're saying, oh no, because you're doing new mockups for a mobile website design. I think this is a style preference. I find like I'm a big fan of the kind of like, nah, I think I'm more of a fan of an in situ design placement. So whether you're using, yeah, kind of just like a phone frame, a laptop frame, or something like that, I feel like it just brings it closer to like what is actually being experienced versus just like a flat screenshot, especially ones that are just like super long. It just gets It's okay. I don't think anything's necessarily wrong with it, but it gives it a little bit more life when you see it kind of in situ. I think a lot of the times for hiring manager recruiters, putting it on your portfolio and stuff. Um, yeah. Sorry, I'm just rereading the question. Are you working new mockups for mobile? Yeah, mockups. Is it for the website? Sorry, I was thinking of like portfolio, but is it like for designs that will go on the website? Or is it from the designs to put on your portfolio? Okay, you have to clarify the question, otherwise I'm going off the rails here. I don't know what I'm saying. Have you seen the latest Figma rollouts that were announced in Config 2025? If so, what are your thoughts on some or all of them? Um, Personally, I'm a little bit over config. Like, if they asked me to go, yes, I would go. Neat, looks cool, bunch of designers coming together, nice. And the things they announced were neat, right? They're doing sites now. Okay, great. But my and again, keep in mind I haven't played with any of it. I know people are jumping straight in, but it just seemed I have a hard time believing that because people are like, oh, Figma's going to take over and it's going to go, straight from design to development to the Framer. A lot of these other kind of products have been out there a lot longer, and I bet you they've worked out a lot of the kinks. Whereas Figma, in my mind, is a little bit late to the game in that. Maybe they're learning from their competitors and they're fast tracking a lot of things like that. But I would be a little bit concerned until I play with it that I could just, click a button and my designs come to life and stuff like that. Yeah, I just think that it's always like when you get the new iPhone version, right? I think when a company comes new onto the market with this kind of stuff, and there's already been established ones who've been working out the kinks. Webflow is another one. Squarespace, not quite that, but Webflow and Framer are definitely two. They've kind of done even the integrations with Figma and the fact that you can copy your what did I say? Yeah, Figma. Copy your Figma designs over to some of these builder sites. Yeah, we'll see. It's a very we'll see if they can keep up. That's kind of my take on it. The other one, what did we see? The kind of illustrations, the drawing and stuff like. I don't remember the exact names of it, but again, it's cool. It's cool. But like what we were talking about, like Procreate has had this around for a while. I don't know. I know that seems like they're kind of trying to do this suite of tools and stuff like that. But I did see a really good comment on LinkedIn about Figma is utilized in really big tech companies. Like for the most part, a lot of the tech companies have just a subscription to it. That's where they make like a lot of their money. So a lot of these like cutesy little tools and stuff like that are really neat for more individual designers, for the marketing, for like all those kind of things, and that's cool. But are they forgetting who pays their bills a little bit? So like when Dev Mode came out, I think everyone was super stoked about that because that's perfect for the audience of who primarily uses Figma and these like big companies and stuff. You want to minimize that time, create an efficient dev handoff, and like that kind of stuff. But this time around, it feels a little bit markety. I don't know. I'd be curious, kind of like what you guys think. Are you super excited about it? I think for me, again, like I'm a design leader. We look at tools. I'm in big tech. So, like, yes, I'm excited to play with it. But the reality of incorporating a lot of what they put out into my day to day, meh. But yeah, let me know what you guys think if you have another take on it. A lot of hype, though. My goodness, so much hype. um, Okay, John's. I think this is the note about the dev handoff, establishing design systems that document rules and encouraging them to use the shared design tokens. Totally. So yeah, the more you can kind of build a system that has a lot of the kind of atoms of the componentry at least kind of covered and just reference them to that all the time when you do those handoffs, that can work. But yeah, again, with the if you have devs that are willing to learn, I can't say that it works for every situation, but that is really the way to go these days for sure. You always forget your empty states. My dude, you got to get those empty states covered. What are you doing? Nothing worse than like going through a design and then having Yeah, just no feedback from the system, no error state, no anything covered. Or worse, sometimes worse, is the developer just does the browser default and wow. Okay, I'm gonna go over to YouTube. Let me see. Da, da, da. Okay, I saw a whiteboard one in here. Okay, Vic is asking, what are your recommendations to approach whiteboard challenges on interviews? What do they actually expect from a 30-minute under pressure exercise? Where'd you get that emoji from? It's cute. Okay. So, what they actually expect, hiring managers like myself, is not for you to come out with some miracle, revolutionary design idea at the end of the 30 minutes. What they want to see is how you approach a problem. That is core. So, what I always recommend people do is rather than trying to be like, oh, I would first start to even conceptualize like what the idea might be. That is the wrong approach every time. It is really about the types of questions that you would be asking in those first 30 minutes. I would say you could probably spend 20 of those 30 minutes asking the right questions, also asking about the goals, the what does success look like, what type of, metrics are they trying to move, what type of impact are they actually looking for? And it's really all about like showcasing your thinking in that way. And then you start to look into, okay, well, based off of that, what steps would you take in those whiteboard challenges? So then it's like, oh, I would go to, if I had the chance, I would go talk to users, I would interview them from, it sounds like this target market or whatever kind of info they gave you based off of your very good questions. And then, yeah, and then you can spend that like, it again, you don't really get to a solution. You really shouldn't, or it should be very, very high level and high touch. But the real thing that they're looking for is your approach. So it's those questions, it's your process to answer or help achieve some of those goals and questions, and then maybe a little bit of the output and what they think you would deliver in the end. It's like, well, if I went and talked to these people, and you could then you could hypothesize with well, if people said this, then I'd probably take this approach, but if they said that, I take this approach. So yeah, I think the biggest mistake, and especially the way that it's sold, it really sounds like I remember my whiteboard challenge, and it was like create an ATM, like a great ATM experience. And I'm like, what? Who has a great ATM experience? No, but yeah, it's all about showcasing your thinking at the end of the day, not really creating a solution because you don't have anything to base it off of. So if you try to base it off nothing, of course you're going to come up with not great solution. So yeah. Um, can you guys hang on a second? I have to get some water. Okay, can you just hang on a second? I didn't have to go very far. Okay. Can you describe what the admin was like as a lead slash manager? Oh boy. Very different. And this obviously is going to be very based off of just my own individual experience. But I think talking to quite a few lead slash managers from other companies, the general sentiment is the same. Managers have way more admin than lead designers. And that is why I went through the lead track. Managers have the admin of creating PDPs, so personal development programs with their reports. They have to document kind of positive and negative feedback. Depending on your peer review cycle, you either have sometimes it's quarterly. That's probably not so common, but then sometimes it's every 6 months where you do. I'm just looking at how many people have joined. Sorry, I'm just sidetrack real quick. Thank you guys for joining. I've tried a little bit of a different way to share out that I'm doing these lives, and it's seeming to be effective. So I'm just acknowledging that really quickly. So, and awesome questions. Thank you guys. So, just pause for a sec. So, Manager has to do all that. And then you have your peer review cycles. And that is where a lot of the times managers go into like what big, and this is for big companies, calibrations. And that probably comes in multiple forms. If you're at a massive company, it takes really long. If it's a smaller company, not, probably not so bad. Like, or even if you're at a design agency, I know my manager there, a couple weeks of admin. He just had to kind of write his thoughts down on my performance and deliver it to me. But then you have to sit down and depending on how many reports you have, which is hopefully no more than, let's say, six, that's probably about a good number. You have to sit down with every single person individually and kind of you have to write up the thing for them. And then you have to deliver it to them. You have to have a conversation about it, a little bit of back and forth. And a lot of times there's these awful tools that you have to like input into that are just archaic and terrible. And then you have to do that all over every 6 months. So if you guys can understand why I didn't continue on the management track, that is why. It's an awful tedium that is awful. But at the same time, like you are then directly responsible for somebody's career growth. And obviously, there's lots of positives to the management side as well. I personally um, find that I'm more successful leading and influencing and coaching and mentoring versus like managing, like directly manage. So I work very closely with senior managers or managers to help other designers grow, but I don't have to do the paperwork, for example. So that's really what it is to be a lead. You still mentor and coach. And yes, maybe you help people kind of work through their objectives or their PDPs, especially if they're looking for opportunities to grow. You kind of help them identify those opportunities and then hopefully kind of coach them through that a little bit. But all that other stuff I listed off, it's not it's not as much. I think though some lead designers and companies, or even if you stay on that track, still have to participate in these kind of calibration moments where you discuss as a group somebody's performance. Also, you will be included in any promotion processes. So if somebody you work closely with, you either mentored or I don't know, yeah, you had a closer relationship with, you'll probably ask to do a write up about their performance as a part of this whole like managers go away and talk about it kind of thing. So there's still a bit of admin that way. And then, yeah, again, if you have a regular review cycle, if you are a lead, undoubtedly you will be asked more to give your input on people. So again, every the kind of 6 months or annual cycle that comes around to get that input, or maybe ad hoc input, because of being a lead, a lot of cores and seniors will come then to you and say, "Hey, can you give me feedback on this and that?" And it's typically written feedback that will go into some sort of system, kind of a thing. So yeah, that's really the difference in for lead management in terms of admin stuff. So yeah. Um, okay, going back to the what was it? Yeah, mobile mockups. Let's see. So it is for my portfolio and it is a design for website. Basically, the browser mockup. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I find there's a similar. Okay, that's a different thing. So yeah, definitely. But again, I think it's all about preference. What I was saying before is I think it does elevate portfolios and case studies a bit more to have like in situ designs. So in kind of real devices, or I mean, it doesn't have to be real devices. I love clay devices personally because I don't like to update my portfolio every 2 minutes, every new iPhone that comes out. So if you can do something a little bit more abstract, maybe you just don't have to worry about it looking dated like immediately after it's finished, right? But yeah, I think it does tend to elevate your portfolio a bit more if you kind of include things in framed mockups and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. Or browser mockups. Again, looking at kind of like clay designs, anything that does clip it. I personally love, especially because what we do is so much more than just what's above the fold. Um, so if you have like a browser kind of frame, but your design kind of sits within it, but then you show kind of the entire scroll length of it and the full design, I think that's kind of interesting too. I think it just, yeah, I think it's just a little bit better than just slapping a PNG up and then that's it. But again, I don't think it necessarily discredits you in any way either. Okay. How much do you expect designers to use KPIs and general data? Juniors, next to none. Cores, you should have a pretty good understanding. Seniors, you should know it through and through. So it goes up as you go up as a designer. But the way that the market is headed, I will say this through and through. Visual designs are not going to get designers as far as they used to with all the tooling and AI and like design systems and just everything that the templating and all the things, the way that they're going. So, what you're really left with at the end of the day is how you approach and help solve problems and achieve goals for the company. And so, you need to start understanding what that means as early as you're comfortable with. Like, once you, and you can do it in tandem. I think in my experience, you kind of get really good at the visual stuff, and then you're like, well, I hit a ceiling. I can't go any further with this visual thing. I can't solve UX any better. So then it becomes, how do you solve bigger problems? How do you solve more strategic problems? But you can do that bit by bit, just in understanding like what numbers are we trying to move? Like what do we even like? What does our PMs even look at when they want this like this feature, that feature? And honestly, if you're a good designer, you understand what those numbers are and you articulate your design solution around them. You don't say, "Hey, we want to improve the usability, we want to improve the usability of this experience because designers are frustrated with it." It kind of doesn't mean very much to a lot of stakeholders. But if you say, hey, users are really struggling with this experience and it's increasing our drop off rate by 10%. I think if we do this solution presented, it can reduce that drop off rate by a significant portion. You don't have to be expert. You don't have to know exactly like, oh, 5% specifically, but it will decrease us losing money effectively. Or you want more context? Okay, great. Here's a design solution that's going to get us more contacts. It can literally be, instead of, oh, I'm going to make this button I'm going to make this button more prominent. So users can see it more. It seems like they're missing it. That's, in usability testing, people didn't notice it. That's one way to say it. But a more effective, a more impactful way to say it is that, hey, I noticed that people are really not noticing this button, which means we're probably not getting as many contacts as we could, because even if people want to, they can't find out how. So if we want to increase our contact rate, um, here's my proposal, right? And you become so much more valuable as a designer once you start to go that direction. Okay. Mm. Yeah. There's a comment over here talking about just kind of talking about Adobe Illustrator is widely considered the industry standard for vector-based design. And then, yeah, Adobe used to be the big one that we've had players like Figma, but then Sketch was huge. I also agree over here because like it's sort of weird for people to connect their identity to a corporation. Like I'm all for just having a bit of fun and like wearing the gear and like that's fine. Have fun with it. But in my experience, again, over 10 years of doing this, tools change and they change fairly frequently. Like, yes, Figma's been around for a while, but so was Sketch, many, many years. And then before then, Adobe was around forever. So if Figma can't keep up, for example, if they don't get the funding, whatever the business rationale is, then if there's another tool that comes out that makes it cheaper and better for companies, and that's why I was kind of harping on like big companies are the ones who pay their bills, um, then you're going to be swapping tools. It might not even be your choice. It doesn't matter what UX community says or creators or leaders or whatever they say. It matters what companies want to invest into to like help like have their UXers do their jobs more efficiently and better and more collaboratively and all these kind of things and potentially cheaper. So yeah, for me working in big tech, the fandom doesn't make a ton of sense. Like if my company switched to a different tool tomorrow, then I'm on that next tool. I'm no longer in the Figma community, whatever. Would I be quite pissed about it? Because what all I know is Figma right now? Yes, but I've already done it with Sketch. I've already done it from Adobe to Sketch, from Sketch to Figma. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You get the experience that, like, tools change, and you just go to the best tool to help you solve whatever you need to solve. Like, they come and they go. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, anyways. Ooh, okay, I gotta get going. I got, like, 6 more minutes, so, last few questions. Um, Adobe is free in design school. Was not free in my design school. I wish it was. When I had Adobe, I had to go to the Apple or whatever store and buy the friggin' CD-ROM and have it installed on my computer, and it was so expensive. I literally remember it being like 600 to $700 or something absolutely absurd. So, you've just scarred me, Paul. I don't wanna hear about it. Okay, how do you overcome the creativity block caused by the design systems and pressure to not detach for someone in a junior role in a big company where the design system is far from mature? Ah, man. Yeah, that one's really tricky, especially in as somebody in a junior role. Mm. I think the best way to approach that is because, yes, there's a design system, but if you can prove, because if you are in big tech company, a lot of the times product, or it's not design who runs the company, right? Like, design helps the company, but it doesn't run the company. So if you can kind of prove um, your your solution, this detached component, this new component, something that doesn't exist in the design system, is actually better for X, Y, and Z reasons, and especially what I just said about KPIs, numbers, all these other things being a part of it, then that's really how you kind of navigate that, like, pressure. I would like, if you can do it with that solution, you really can't come up with something better. And again, you better have a freaking strong rationale as to why you're detaching it. It can't just be like, because I wanted to, because I wanted to be creative, because I wanted to. No, it has to be tied to some semblance of a business reason. Um, and because that's the only way you're going to sell it. Otherwise, you're going to be the designer who detaches things and doesn't have a reason for it. You don't want that. But yeah, definitely explore, and also don't be afraid to actually explore, like, just in your own thought, not just, I'm just like, I just want to explore. I don't necessarily like know if this is going to go anywhere, but I want to think a little bit outside of the box for a minute. Like, I think this will be fine, XYZ design system component, but I want to see if I can't come up with something better that's going to be more impactful. And then hopefully your design system process is enough that um, you have a system to expand it, right? Because if you do something good enough, you create like a maybe you create a variable of that component. You actually get that variable built out to be incorporated into the design system. But yeah, it is there is a bit of that pressure there because it's the same. It's like, why detach it? But if you have strong rationale, you have two things. You just get want to get creative with it. You just want to explore. Fine, talk about why it doesn't work. It works, whatever. Default to the design system, or you actually come up with something that could be impactful. And again, it really just has to be for achieving the goal or whatever the thing is trying to do. Business language. um, and then you can sell it that way. And then realistically, who needs to kind of usually sign off on it at the end of the day? Maybe you have a senior lead or manager in place, but if you can at least get your product and devs on board with it, maybe then you can sell it to, the sticklers in design a little bit more. But that's, yeah, roughly at how I'd probably try to navigate that. And then if you're doing stuff more visionary, like if you're like, oh, I want to try to explore a redesign for next year, and then yeah, I would really push then to consider how much you need to stay detached that or attach that component. I work a lot in visionary work, and I tell all the designers to detach all the components immediately because we don't know what our design system is going to be in 3 to 5 years. But that's a whole nother topic. So, okay, I have to go soon, but let's see, just maybe one or two more questions. Uh, 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 Prototyping with Flash. Ah! No! Uh, you cannot say what is it? Uh, yeah, you cannot say what is decreasing the drop-off rate before testing a variant. That's not true. You can absolutely have multiple hypotheses based off of a multitude of things. Data you're seeing, analytics, scroll ratios with something like Hotjar, user sentiment. You can have a bunch of stuff that's telling you potentially why people are dropping off. You don't have to test another variant to know. Um, yeah, you are making assumptions to test. You have like utilize as much data and stuff as you can, or run some qualitative, quantitative data to get more input about why something might be happening, and then have a hypothesis. That's kind of the whole idea. So, yeah, you do make assumptions, but assumptions are hypotheses, right? So, and then you validate those or invalidate them. That's the whole process. Okay. How does the UX team navigate technical limitations presented by developers? Yeah, always a tricky one. You will have it for your entire career. But the reality is, anytime you get kind of a request, a brief, push that to its realistic limitation. Don't like a lot of time blue sky stuff is just out of the realm. But try to always push the envelope towards the direction of what you really believe is best for the users, and then work with your developers as well. Like, I think one of the biggest things that designers experience a lot of times is like you go away and you do all this work and then you come to developers and they're like, no, can't do that. Limitation. But if you bring them into the process a lot more, it's gonna, I don't have a lot of time to explain this, but I could just promise you that it will bring them in more to understand why this is a good solution and trying to figure out with you, alongside you, on how to make it work or find a compromise that is in between where they feel like the hardest limitations are and where you are. So fundamentally, always try to include your developers in your design process. Let them give feedback, let them give input, educate them why this is a really good solution to solve user friction, user goals, business goals, etc. And then when it gets to the point where there are limitations, again, just work collaboratively with them as much as you can. And sometimes you will win some of the battles, and sometimes you will not. But always try in your design solutions to just push it far enough, even if you kind of understand the limitations yourself, push it just a little bit more, and then see if you can't kind of get a better solution in front of users than maybe the developer shutting everything down. But that's, yeah, definitely how I've always approached those problems. And then again, it really comes down to some, you win some, you lose some. Um, mm, okay. Explaining limitations as a dev can be challenging. Yeah. Yeah, it can. Sometimes we speak entirely different languages. Okay. Okay. I'm literally one more question. I have to jump on my bike and like bike to the bowling alley. Okay. 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 Could you talk about AI driven features, the most common ones, or maybe offer resources that I could read up on best practices? Uh, Thanks for the good luck. Appreciate it. AI driven features for what types of products, though? Like AI driven experiences, products, stuff like that. I would, just as a starting point, start to understand how AI can advance personalization and contextualization of every single product experience out there. That's huge. That's going to be fundamental to everything across the board. LLMs, obviously, we all know ChatGPT and stuff like that, but how LLMs actually impact product experiences that we're also designing for. Dynamic UI is another one. Modular, kind of created design, like designs created essentially for each individual user. That goes back to the personalization as well. I think those would be definitely the ones to look into now. Agentic AI is also it used to be operators, but now it's agentic AI is also a really big one. Just in terms of what's going to impact us as designers needing to understand how to design for these kind of future experiences. those are the ones you should be looking into, like, for sure, because they're here, they're happening. How much of an impact they're gonna have on our product experiences, obviously, everything has a chatbot now, sucks a lot of the time, but being able to understand fundamentally how LLMs work, how you can utilize them, for your designs, and then also understanding, hyper personalization through Gen AI, super, super good. Just dropped a bunch on you. I don't have actually any resources, but those are just terms I would look into. Thank you all so much for joining. There were so many of you. Uh, awesome. I'm actually like super stoked to see you guys here. So I'm going to keep kind of doing it this way in terms of how I broadcast these lives. I either do them once or twice a month, so keep an eye out for them as well if you want to subscribe over on YouTube. Oh, Edward, you're joining just late. I'm just about to pop off. But and then you can watch any of my previous live recordings as well. I have to run bike. I have to cycle to bowling. So awesome. Thank you guys for your questions. And I hope I see you on the next one. Cool.